So you're here because you want to know how to build a dashboard, and I am about to build a dashboard. So hey, we have something in common. And to be honest, anyone can do it. If you want something that looks really good on your resume, I really recommend you building Tableau dashboards with sample data, because data analytics is a skill that is beneficial for anyone. So today, my friends, we're going to be building a dashboard on Tableau. And seriously, don't worry if you don't know what Tableau is and how to use it. This is why I'm here. I'm going to be explaining these things to you. And by the end of this, you are going to be able to create an interactive, fun dashboard that you can show off on your resume. So let's get to it. Now, the big question here is, where do you start? Well, you start with a data set. And first things first, we actually need a data set. So I'm thinking it's your first dashboard, and maybe you want to showcase it on your resume. So we want something simple and maybe something that everyone relates to. So let's do a sales dashboard. So I found this dataset on Kaggle, which is a great place if you're looking for datasets, by the way. The link to download the dataset is in the description below. In fact, everything you need will be in the description below. So this is my dataset. It's pretty simple, and for now, we don't really need to interrogate it too much. We can have a look at this when we choose our dashboard tool that we'll be using to build a dashboard. Which then brings me to my next point. What tool will we be using? So we have our dataset, and you want to build a dashboard. So what tool do we use? We could use Excel to build dashboards, but we do want something that was designed for dashboard building. So it's actually between the two kings of data visualization. Yes, a very nerdy title, but it's going to be between Tableau or Power BI. Now, I do want something free so anyone can use it, hence the title of the video. I also want something that is beginner-friendly, but also used in large corporations, because remember, we're going to create this dashboard so that you can show it off on your resume. So I'm choosing Tableau for this reason, and maybe there might be other people who would want to do Power BI. We're doing Tableau, and if you don't know, Tableau is a really powerful data visualization tool that allows us to create these pretty cool, interactive, and dynamic dashboards. So you can create reports, charts, everything from your data. Now, the cool thing is that Tableau is designed for people who want to explore and analyze data without requiring advanced programming or technical skills. So there are several benefits of using Tableau for data visualization and data analysis. It is definitely my preferred tool. Most of my courses on Udemy are all related to Tableau because lots of people use it and anyone can use it. It's really user-friendly. You can also connect to a lot of data sources. You can publish it online. It's also great with handling large data sets, probably a lot more better than most of the tools out there. I'm actually going to use Tableau Public because Tableau Public is a free version of Tableau Paid. It has full functionality, other than the fact that you can only connect to static data sources, so no cloud databases, and you can't save your work locally. You have to save your dashboard online. So if you are going to be following along, you can download Tableau Public. I'll add the link to my description. So now that we know the tool that we're going to use, it's time to start building. So let's go ahead and open Tableau, and we will be connecting to our data set. Okay, so you can go ahead and open Tableau Public after you've installed it. The link to install it is in the description. And then make sure that you've downloaded your dataset, which is also in the description. Once you've downloaded your dataset, just save it somewhere that you know where it is. And let's start building some dashboards. So I have Tableau Public open, and when you open it, you either see this window here. You may also see this here. So if you do see this window here, you can click the top left icon, which is a Tableau logo. And if you click on it, it goes back to this welcome page. And this is where you decide on what dataset you are going to connect to. So just remember, Tableau Public, you're only able to access static datasets, which is just datasets that are not on the cloud, such as Microsoft Excel, your text files, JSON files, etc. Whereas the full version of Tableau, you are able to access a lot of datasets or data types. And we are going to select text file and then just navigate to where you've stored your dataset. So I have stored it in my sales dashboard Tableau folder. It's a .csv. And click on open. So after a few seconds, this is what you will see. So you'll see that the dataset has been loaded. You'll have this bar appearing here. You'll probably have something called sales dataset, which is your data name or your dataset name, which you can change if you click on this. And then you can see it appears over here. So this here is your actual raw data that we're looking at. And if you do have other CSVs in that same folder, it may also appear here. So just make sure that you are selecting sales dataset, and that sales dataset is appearing here. And this is our sales dataset. So let's just have a look at it. So we have area code, which just looks like a normal area code. We have the state, which I believe is in the USA. We have the market. We have the market size. We have the margin. So margin is your profit. We have your sales. We have your cost of goods sold. So this is just cost of sales. We have your marketing expenses. There's a product ID that's been sold. There's a date of the sale, the product type that's been sold, the actual product, and then the type of the product. Okay, so it looks like it's just tea and coffee, etc. being sold here. And we have data from 2023 and before that, which is great. And I want you to notice the icons at the top here. And this actually defines the data type, which is quite important. So as a data analyst and as someone building dashboards, sometimes when you load your data set into dashboard tools like Tableau, sometimes numbers appear as text. And on Tableau, the cool thing here is you can actually change that. So a good example here is that we have a date. And if I click on that icon, you can see you can change it to a date and a time. If you want a number, you can. If you want a string, you can, etc. But all of this looks correct. And if you click on the small arrow here, what you can do is if you want to duplicate the field, you can. If you do want to rename it, if you want to copy all the values, if you want to hide the field, you can also do that, which is quite interesting. And I'll show you how to do it now. If you want to rename it or create an alias, etc. So what we can do is we can have a look and see what fields we need to hide, so what fields we don't need to use. So a good example here is that I don't think we ever use product ID. Okay, so let's click on product ID, let's right click on it and say hide. And now product ID, that field just won't show up, which is good because if you do have data sets where there are hundreds of columns, you're not going to be able to analyze all columns in one dashboard. So it's great that you can hide columns that you're not going to use. The other thing that you can do on this window here is you can also filter data. So for instance, I know that this data set, I think, goes back to 2011, 2012. And we don't need data that far back. I am just looking at data maybe from 2020 onwards. So if you filter your data at this stage where you just bring in data from a certain date, or even data consisting of maybe a certain product type or a certain market, you can do that. And what it does is that it just decreases the size of your data set, so it makes it easier to analyze, because remember, the bigger your data set, the slower your dashboard is going to take to load. It's going to be a pain to build, etc. So to do that, we can click over here by the filter section. Let's click on add to add a filter. And now we can decide how we want to segment our data. So let's click on add. And as I mentioned, if you want to maybe filter by market, so let's click on market and click OK. Now you can decide on maybe we just want to see and analyze data belonging to the market central. So if we click on central, we click on OK and click OK then. Okay, and now we notice that our data just has central market. Everything else is being filtered out. Okay, but I don't want that. So let's go back to edit at the top. And let's just click on market and remove that. Let's click add and let's do a date filter. So click on date and select OK. And click on years because I just do want to filter any data before year 2020. So click on next. Okay, and now you can either select the data that you just want to see. So I want to see 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. If you select exclude here, then it actually excludes that and includes all the rest, but we want it included. So make sure that's not selected, and there's a check mark from 2020 to 2023. And click OK. And click OK, and then click on sheet 1. Okay, awesome. So now we've brought the data into Tableau. So the next phase is actually deciding what we're going to be building. Let's just say I met with the stakeholder of this company and we've had a few meetings and we've decided that this is our dashboard. As a data analyst, you will build some sort of mock-up like this. So we have a sales by week line chart. We have a margin by market bar chart, a profit by product, which is a tree map, and then just a normal map showing the margin by area code. Now keep in mind the formulas at the bottom, which we will get to at a later stage. And to build our dashboard, we need to build 4 charts and then add them to a dashboard. Okay, so now that we've spoken to our stakeholders, we have a mock-up of what we're going to be building. They've also given us some formulas for the calculations. We can start building our dashboard. And one of the charts I want to first build is the easiest one, which is sales by week. Now, how Tableau works is it works in a drag and drop format where you can see all your fields or your columns are appearing here. And we have our big pane here, which is called sheet 1. This is where the actual charts will appear. And here's where you decide which field belongs to a column and which field belongs to a row. Over here in the marks pane, you can do some formatting. You can change the color of your charts. You can change the labels. You can change the tooltips, which is when you hover, there's information showing. You can change the size, etc. You can add filters as well. The rest of the stuff we don't really use too much. I mean, this is if you want to create a new sheet. This is if we want to copy a sheet. And we'll use some version of this soon enough. Cool. Let's just begin. Done with explaining. Let's just do it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take date. So the date column here, and let's drag it and drop it to columns. And when we drag and drop to columns, we notice that this appears, so our date, and it's in years. So why is it in years? Well, if you look here in our field's called date, but immediately when we dropped it, it changed to year and then in brackets date. So Tableau does this just to make the chart building a bit easier. Obviously, if we drop the date field here and we see every single date between 2020 to 2023, it's not going to look great. So over here, it just segments the data. If we click this plus sign, it goes to quarter. If we click the other plus sign, it goes to month. And then if we click again, it goes to day. And you can see just how that works. If we click the negative sign on here, it goes back. Okay, so I want you to click on this arrow just where it says year date. And let's go right down to where it says week number, because remember, we want sales by week according to our mockup. Okay, that looks fine. Now let's bring in sales. So click on sales and drag it and drop it to rows. Okay, awesome. We have a chart. So here we have the sales by week and it looks good. So now we need to separate it by our market. That is what the mockup says, and that's what we're going to do. So if we look at market here, what we can do is we can play around. Let's click on market and let's drag it to rows. Okay, so we do still have a line chart, but now our chart has split where each graph is now market. And what if we take this market from rows? You can click and drag it and drop it in columns. Okay, quite similar, but now our market has moved to columns. So you can see how Tableau works and how dragging and dropping fields change your chart. So what if we click market and let's drag it and drop it to the marks pane and drag it as soon as it's on top of color. Perfect, that's exactly what I want. So here I want our market separated. I want it in different colors, which is why we've now dragged market over color. And we can see we have 4 different lines. And if you hover over, each line represents a different market. Perfect. Let's do a bit of formatting and some cleaning up here. So first things first, I don't like the color of this. So let's click on color because this is where we can change it. Go to edit colors. And now what we can do is Tableau has some color palettes that are assigned here and we can change it. So if we click on automatic, you can choose whatever color palette you want. I am going for the purple, pink, and gray. It's just because my logo for the company is in purple. So you can choose whatever you want, but if you are going to use the same logo, which is in the YouTube description below, it is a purple logo. So if you click on purple and click assign palette, and now just assigns random colors. If you do want to edit these colors, you can just click and double click on the box And our color wheel shows up where you can edit it however you want. Or you can also do the sliders as well. So if you want a grayscale slider, or you can just change it to RGB slider. This is nice because you can also input your hex color and so on. There's many other options. So I do want to change this maybe to a nice gray. I'll show you the hex color now. So hex color, if I click on the slider, RGB slider, and my hex color is 7F7, F7D. If you do want to input this here, you should get the same gray. And click OK. And once you're happy, click OK. All right, so now our color palette has been assigned. We can change the size if we want. So if we click on size, we can just, okay, and you notice that the thickness changes. And now I actually want to have labels on each data point because it's just better to read. So what we can do is we can click sales over here because remember we're showing sales by week. And we can click sales as a field and we can drop it under label. Okay, that looks great. Now, what we can do here is we can do two things. The first thing is sales is a currency. So let's change that to have a currency. So we can go to this here and we can change the formatting of the sales field. So if we click on the small arrow, go to default properties, go to number format. Let's change it to currency. So we can do currency standard. So this is my local currency over here, which is in rands. I'm South African. It should show you your local currency as well. If you do want to change it, you just click on the bar and change it to whatever currency you want. But I'm just leaving it in rands and click OK. Okay, cool. Now you can see this is a nice currency. But the one thing I don't like about this is that the numbers need to be rounded off, right? It's a chart. We don't need exact numbers. We want nice rounded off numbers. So what you can do is if you just want to edit the chart labels, which is just this, we can do it here because this represents a chart label. This field here represents our entire data set. So just remember that if we're editing the formatting here in our fields pane, we're editing the formatting in our entire data set. If we're just editing the formatting here, it's just for this chart, which means that if we create a new chart, we'll have to reformat. So I do want to round up a bit, maybe put in some display units. So instead of saying the full number, we can say like 14,000 with a K, etc. So to do that, we are going to be using this here. So click on the arrow here, click on format. Okay, for default here, so make sure it's on pane. And then under default, where it says numbers, click on it. And go to currency custom. Decimal places is 1 decimal place. And then negative values is fine. It can be represented like that. Display units, let's put it in thousands. There, that looks way better. And then the same thing is I actually wanted the axis edited. So in the same format pane, just move over to axis. Okay, where it says scale, go to numbers, and then just do the same. So go to currency custom. Move 1 decimal place, change the display units to thousands, and maybe 0 actually. Let's do 0 decimal places. Okay, cool. And that looks a lot better. Let's just format the actual chart. So click anywhere or right click anywhere in our chart. Click on format. I like the font to be a bit more bold. So if we go to worksheet here, so make sure you're on sheet, worksheet. And change instead of Tableau book, you can go 1 up to Tableau bold. That looks a bit better. And then just make sure I like my font to just all be black. Okay, and then let's go to this last icon, which has a lot of lines on it. Click on rows. And where it says grid lines, click on it and say none. Okay, that looks way better. Okay. I'm happy with that. So let's just double click on sheet 1 at the top and let's just rename this. This is now our title and let's just call it sales by week. Let's just highlight it, centralize it. And instead of Tableau light, let's do Tableau bold and click OK. Perfect. So if you go to the bottom here where it says sheet 1 at the bottom left, you can double click it, backspace, and just call it sales by week. And that's our first chart done and dusted. Now let's do chart number 2, which is the margin by market chart. So what I like to do is I like to keep all the formatting. So instead of just creating a new sheet, which is what we can do if we click on this icon here, I like to right click on sales by week and say duplicate. So now all our formatting stays and we don't need to redo that. So I'm just going to close this format lines pane. And now we are going to be building our margin by market chart. So let's do that. So we can actually remove all of these fields. We can call this here. So just double click it and say margin by market. And click OK. And while we're here, let's just rename this tab. So double click on sales by week 2 and just say margin by market. Perfect. And now what we're going to be doing is building our bar chart. So we want market. So let's click on market and let's bring it to rows. Let's just see how it looks. And we want margin. So let's just click on margin and bring it to columns. So now we have a chart where we have a margin, we have a market. It's looking fine. To make it a bit bigger, you can change from standard at the top. And if we do entire view, our chart now fits our entire view. And if you do ever want to change the chart type, you can go to the top right where it says show me. And here, based on what fields you've placed in the columns and rows, also what fields you've placed on the filters and marks, Tableau will tell you what charts we can change to. So we can change to a normal text table. We can change to a heat map, which doesn't really tell much. We can change to a highlight table. Okay, so this, based on the color, tells us which one is the highest margin. We can change to a pie chart. We can change to a horizontal bar chart. We can change to a stack bar chart. We can change to a tree map, which we will be doing a bit later, etc. So you can just move your way down this list and see what's possible. But we are just sticking to horizontal bar chart. Let's change this to entire view. Okay, to close show me, you can just click it again and it will close. Perfect. Now let's change the color here. Let's make it maybe a version of purple. So if you click on color and just click whatever purple you want. So I do want a specific purple, which is this purple right here, and click OK. Great. Again, I want to remove the actual grid line. So let's right click anywhere on the chart and click format. Let's go to the last icon with lots of lines. Let's go to columns and grid lines, say none. Perfect. Now, I actually want to swap this over to make market in columns and then margin in rows. So to do that, we can swap the fields manually, or you can click this button here. So you can see it actually swaps the axes. There we go. And then if we want to actually sort it, then we can through here. So if we click on this button, it sorts it from lowest to highest. And then if we click on the next one, it sorts it from highest to lowest. So let's just leave it as highest to lowest. Okay, that is chart number 2. Let's move on. Chart number 3, which is our profit by product. And this is where we are going to be using calculations because we don't have a profit field. So if I'm just closing this pane here, okay, we don't have a profit field. So we have COGS, we have margin, we have marketing, and we have sales. That's it in terms of all our metrics, right? So Tableau on your data set will split up your dimensions, which are fields that you can't really add, such as products, categories, etc. You can't really perform mathematical operations on them. So it separates dimensions and measures or metrics in the next section. Measures are generally green, dimensions are generally blue. So we don't have any more measures. So we need to create our profit field. And if you remember, our mockup actually gives us some calculations. The first thing to note is that there is a discount given to sales based on the market it belongs to. So if the sales is from a central market, it gets a 10% discount on the sale. If it's from the south market, it gets a 5% discount. And then everything else gets a 2% discount. And then once we have our discount, then we would be able to calculate our profit because our profit is sales minus our discount, minus our COGS, and minus our marketing, which we have everything other than our discount. So how do we add discount? So to add discount, we actually need to add a calculated field. And ideally, when you create a calculated field or calculation on Tableau, it technically adds a new column to your data set, which I'll be showing you. So in this example, we'd like to create a new column called discount, and the value of the discount is determined by the market. Let's just test out calculated fields. A good example here is maybe I want to know the total expenses, and total expenses would be COGS, or your cost of goods sold, plus your marketing added together. So if we wanted to create a new column for total expenses, this is what we do. We'd go to the top little arrow here by your search bar and select Create Calculated Field. Now we can call this calculated field total expenses. And here's where we can input our calculations. Our calculations can also consist of functions, and if you click on this arrow here, it should show you all the functions that Tableau gives. It's quite a few. But for now, we're just going to do a simple addition. So our total expenses is equal to our COGS. So I'm just typing that. You can see the field pops up, so you can click it or you can press tab. And I'm going to say plus. You don't need to type spaces. I just do it because it looks neat. And then marketing. Here we go. Okay, and that's all we need. So we're saying total expenses is equal to COGS plus marketing, and click OK. Right, and now we see this column pop up. And if we actually go to our data source, so let's go to the data source tab at the bottom here, we can see this calculation pops up as a column, which is very interesting. Okay, if we go back to our margin by market, now we have total expenses popping up, which is great. So that means that if we create a new sheet and add it, it should show up. So let's have a look. In margin by market, that tab, right click it and say duplicate. Let's rename this tab and let's call it profit by product. Okay. And now instead of having margin here, let's remove margin and let's replace that with total expenses. Okay. And now we see, never mind the title, we still need to change it, but if we hover over, we get the total expenses. And that's how a calculated field works on Tableau. So we actually don't need total expenses. What we do need is calculating our discount. Now, to calculate discount, we can actually use an if statement in Tableau, because I can create a calculated field called discount. And if my market is central, the discount is 0.1 or 10%. If my market is south, the discount is 0.05 or 5%. And if my market is anything else, the discount is 0.02 or 2%. And we can use an if statement on Tableau. We're going to create a calculated field at the top. We're going to call this field discount, and we're going to use an if statement. So to do that, let's click on this bar here. So just make sure you click it so this shows up, and type in if. And if you hover to if statement here, Tableau will give you an example of how it works. So it shows us how we should actually input the function and how we should type it out. It gives us a description. So it says tests a series of expressions returning the then value for the first true expression. And it gives us an example. Okay. How the if statement works is that we're saying if condition 1, then output 1. So that's the structure of the first part of our if statement. We're telling Tableau if a certain condition is met, then give us an output 1. I'm going to say enter, and we're saying else if. Now we're telling Tableau if this condition is not met, then check. If condition 2 is met, so a separate condition, then give us output 2, a different output. Okay. And then we're saying else output 3. And now we're telling Tableau if condition 1 isn't met and if condition 2 isn't met, then just give us a totally separate output. So to add this in our use case, instead of condition 1, we're going to backspace that and we're going to say if market. So if market is equal to quotation mark central. Okay. Whenever you're working with text, you always put them in quotation marks. So we're telling Tableau, if the market is equal to central, what are we going to do? So what is our discount? So our discount is going to be 0.1. Okay. Our second condition, which I'm sure you'll be able to fill in yourself, is that if market is equal to south, and make sure that you're actually typing exactly what I'm typing here, because it is case sensitive, then our output would be, so the formula said 0.05, which is 5%. Okay. And now we're telling Tableau, well, if market isn't central or south, then we should just do a discount of 0.02. And then you always need an end statement when it comes to if. Okay, and you can see the calculation is valid. And click OK. So that is essentially our discount. So to check it, we can go back to our data source. And you can see our discount is added. And now let's just check the market. Here you go. So if the market is east, it needs to be 0.02. That's correct. If the market is west, it also needs to be 0.02. If the market is south, it needs to be 0.05. So everything there is looking great. So let's go back to profit by product. And now we need to actually calculate our profit. So based on the formula, we know profit is sales minus our discount, minus COGS, minus marketing. So let's create a calculated field. Let's call that profit. Okay, and our profit is our sales. Minus that by our discount. And remember, discount is percentage, so we need to actually multiply that by sales. Okay, you can just put it in brackets. Okay, so our discount is our percentage. So in order to get it to a numerical value, we know discount is taken from the sales. So it's going to be discount times sales will give us our discount in our numerical or currency. Minus that by our cost of goods. And minus that by marketing. And that's our profit. And click OK. Awesome. So now instead of sum total expenses, let's just remove that. Put in profit. And instead of margin by market, let's change that where we need profit by product. And click OK. And instead of market, let's remove that. And let's bring in product to fields. Okay. Looks good. And now we wanted a tree map. So let's go to show me. And let's select tree map. Okay. So this is quite cool because now what we can do is we can see the bigger the square, the more profit. Okay. If we want to have the actual label, let's click on profit and let's drag it and drop it to label. Okay, we can see that there's no currency there. So let's click on the profit field, click on the arrow, go to default properties, go to number format, and we can do currency custom, 1 decimal place and thousands, and click OK. Perfect. And let's change the color. So go to color, edit colors, and you can click whatever you want, but I am choosing the palette and I'm going for purple and click OK. All right. So now the darker the purple, the more profit it brings in. So we know Colombian brings in the most profit, whereas green tea brings in the least profit because it's a smaller block and it's a lighter color. All right, and our last chart we're going to be doing is a margin by area code. And this is where we work with a map. So we can also create maps on Tableau, and this is how you do it. So again, let's right click, profit by product, let's duplicate. Let's change this tab name to map. And let's change this heading on the top here. Let's just say margin by area code. Okay. And now we can just remove everything. And let's start by clicking on state and just double clicking on it. This will take a few seconds. Immediately we can see that on the state field and area code, we have a globe sign. Okay, and when we clicked on it, it gave us a map. Perfect. If we click on sales and bring it to color, We don't see anything happening with our map. If we go to show me and click on our map, we don't see much happening. This is because Tableau doesn't really know what country the state belongs to. And we have state and we have area code. They're quite similar, but they're in sort of like a hierarchy, right? Because we go from country, state, area code. And Tableau with maps, it needs to be quite definitive. We actually need to tell Tableau, hey, this is a country it belongs to, this is a state, and then the area code. So to do that, let's create a calculated field. Let's call that country. And let's put in quotation marks, United States of America. And click OK. Okay, and let's change this now because this is not text, it's a country. So let's click on that text icon, go to geographic role, and change to country or region. Okay, once it's done, I want you to click on state. I want you to drag state and drop it right on top of country. Okay, it's going to ask us to create a hierarchy and select OK. Perfect. Now let's do the same for area code. So click on area code and drag it and drop it just when the line is below state. So it looks like that. Okay, so now we have a hierarchy. And if we click on country and we bring it, so just drop it right on top of state. Perfect. So now we have that and a blue dot. So if we click on the arrow, we have state. And if we click on the arrow again, we have area code, which is what we wanted. And now if we hover over, it should show us the sales by area code, which is pretty cool. We can adjust the size if we want. So that looks a bit more better. And color as well. So if we go to color, I'm just using that same purple we've been using. The two things I'm noticing is that we did want margin. So instead of sales, let's click on margin and let's drop it on top of sales. That should give us margin. And now if we want labels, we can add it to the label field. Okay, and this gives us labels. And then let's just change the format. So let's right click on margin, go to format, go to numbers, currency custom, let's say no decimal places, and display units, we can have it in thousands. And let's do maybe 1 decimal place. Perfect, that looks pretty good. If you do ever want to edit your tooltips as well, so when you hover over, you can see this toolbar that appears. You can go to tooltip and you can edit it. So you can change maybe the font, or what you can do as well is maybe remove things. Like for country, I'm sure everyone knows it's USA, so you don't need to add that. And let's do, like, I like to make these a bit more smaller. So I'm selecting that and let's just make those 8. And then let's make some margin. So just select some margin, make that 16, and maybe let's just change that to a purple, like that. Okay, if you hit preview, that's how it will look. Click OK. Now if we hover, it's a bit more formatted. All right, so now we have our 4 charts. We have our sales by week. We have our margin by market. We have our profit by product, and we have our map. Let's build our dashboard. So to create a dashboard, we are not going to click this icon, but the next one. It sort of looks like a window. And we have a dashboard. Let's change the sizing of the dashboard. So instead of range, let's go to, you can either do fixed size or automatic. Automatic, you don't need a sizing. Fixed size you do, so whatever fits your boat. I generally like a fixed size. And my fixed size is generally 1:100 by 800, which is generally enough for a normal piece of paper or just landscape mode, which is perfect. Or what you can do is do automatic and it will just automatically size. So it depends on your browser. I generally like it fixed, but I'm keeping it automatic because it just looks a bit bigger on my display. And when you create a dashboard, you can see these are all our charts that we created, and all we need to do is add it to our dashboard. So if we click on sales by week and drag it and drop it on a dashboard, that's great. And then let's do margin by market. So let's click, and I think margin goes to the right here, just like that. This legend, we can actually remove it and maybe add it to the bottom here. And just resize it like that. Perfect. Profit by product. So let's just, this should go right at the bottom. So until it's highlighted like that. Perfect. We don't actually need this legend here. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So that's fine. And then lastly, map can go here. All right, looks great. Again, we don't need this legend that comes with the map. We can just remove it. You can decide if you want to keep this or leave this. Perfect. Now we just need some filters and a header. So let's bring in a container. So this is where you can add containers to your dashboard. So click on horizontal and let's just bring it to the top here. So I think that size is fine. And like always, just resize, just make sure it's good. And if you click on a graph and click on entire view, it should be able to size quite nicely. So make sure everything's on entire view. Okay, and now let's just bring in some filters. So if we click on sales by week and click on this icon here, this should go to the sheet. And let's add some filters here. So I want to filter on date. So let's click on date and add that as a filter. You can decide how you want to filter it. A relative date. So relative date, if we click next, you can choose things like whether you want the last 3 days, whether you want the last 3 months, this month, next month, whether you want a range of dates, a start or end date, etc. So let's select range of dates and click OK. All right. So now if we right click on this, pull and say show filter, you can actually change the dates and the chart will only show you that range of date. And what else? We can have product as a filter. So click on product and just drop it on your filters. Select all and click OK. We can have market as a filter. So click on market and drop it to filters. Make sure all selected and click OK. And I think that's enough. I think those 3 are enough. If you do want to add something else, then you can. And now let's go back to dashboard. Okay. And now if we click on sales by week, click on the arrow, click on filters. Let's bring in date as a filter. Now you'll have to search where the filter is actually landed. So here it's landed here. You can't really see it. But if I click on date here and just click on this bar and just drag it up here, then you'll be able to see that. Okay, and then click on sales by week again, click on the small arrow, go to filters, let's do market. Again, market is landing there. I'm just clicking and dragging it to the right of where date is. Perfect. Click on sales by week, click on filters, and then product. Okay, and let's just bring it like that. If you click on market filter, click on the small arrow, let's just do multiple values drop down so it just looks a bit more better. And then do the same here. If you click on product, click on the small arrow, again multiple values drop down and there. All right, and then you'll notice that if we do select a region, it just filters on one graph, and it would be actually great for it to filter on all. So to do that, if we click on our filters, let's start with date. Click on the small arrow, go to apply to worksheets and say all using this data source. And do the same for market. And then do the same for product. Okay. And now you'll notice that when we change our filters, all our charts filter on the dashboard, which is great. Last thing we need to do is add our heading. So click on text in this objects box and just drag it and drop it just to the left of date. And let's just call it sales dashboard. Just highlight it, go to Tableau bold. Let's just bring it to 20. And make it black and centralize it and click OK. All right, that looks good. And then let's bring in a logo. So let's go to image and just make sure you download a logo. So you can use my one. It's on the description and just save it somewhere and then place the image just to the left of sales dashboard. like that. Okay, this should immediately open. So we're going to say fit and center. And let's just choose our image. Okay, this is my image here. And click open and click OK. And the last thing that I like to do is on each graph, just select this filter icon where it says use as filter. And now if we click on any bar, any point, the chart filters. So if we clicked on central, the whole dashboard will filter to only show data related to the central market. And if you click out of that, it moves back, which is pretty cool. And this is our dashboard. It's interactive. Users can filter. They can filter by date. They can filter on the actual chart, and it automatically updates. Last thing we want to do is we want to rename this. So let's just double click and call it sales dashboard. And let's publish it online. So once you're done, you can go to File and click on Save to Tableau Public. You'll probably have to sign up to an account. So if you don't have an account, you can create one for free. And once you create an account, you can sign in. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. So I'm saying sales dashboard for USA market. And click Save. And now this will publish to Tableau Public. And the cool thing here is that you'll be able to share the link on your resume. So let's check it out. Cool. And this is my dashboard. Same functionality also applies here. So you're able to filter your dashboard. You're able to filter it through the charts and through the filters. And what you can do is share this link on your resume. And that's how anyone can create a dashboard. And I hope you were able to create the dashboard and that you enjoyed this, because this is the crux of data visualization. If you do want to create more dashboards in the video shown here, we actually create a dashboard on Excel. If you like my content, please subscribe and let me know what you think and what else I can create. Until next time, cheers.